I have determined that it is time to officially recognize Jerusalem as the capital of Israel.
Donald Trump recognizing Jerusalem as the capital of Israel today, a move that makes good on a campaign promise but defies warnings of new conflicts in the Middle East.
I am also directing the State Department to begin preparation to move the American embassy from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem.
Trump breaking from decades of American foreign policy. Israel's prime minister is hailing Trump's decision and is encouraging other countries to follow suit.
This is a historic day. We're profoundly grateful for the president for his courageous and just decision.
I want to applaud President Trump for fulfilling his promise and making that right move.
Of President Trump's. Tell us
the mayor of Jerusalem praising Trump today on CNN and adding Israel will not be deterred by threats of unrest.
The state of Israel would never be what it is today if we would be deterred by violence.
There is deep concern Trump's move will undermine efforts for peace in the Middle East. While Israel considers Jerusalem its eternal capital, Palestinians want the capital of an independent Palestinian state to be in Jerusalem's eastern sector, a region captured by Israel in the 1967 Middle East War. The United Nations Secretary General is vowing to support the Israeli and Palestinian leaders to return to meaningful negotiations.
In this moment of great anxiety, I want to make it clear there is no alternative to the two-state solution.
Strong condemnation out of Palestine. Mahmoud Abbas, president of the Palestinian Authority, says the U.S. is no longer a peace broker. And a top Palestinian diplomat claims Trump is strengthening extremist forces in the region as no one has done before.
Closing doors for negotiations, and I think President Trump tonight disqualified the United States of America to play any role in any peace process.
Coming up, mounting international reaction, plus some Palestinians marking the decision with 3 days of rage, and a warning today for Canadians in the Middle East. More followed now to Donald Trump's decision to recognize Jerusalem as Israel's capital and to move the U.S. embassy to that city. This despite international warnings, including from his allies, that the move could trigger new unrest. And Canadians in the Middle East are being urged to exercise caution amid plans for more protests. Palestinians in Gaza demonstrating today, some protesters setting fire to U.S. flags. Hamas describing the U.S. recognition of Jerusalem as Israel's capital as a dangerous decision. Some Palestinians marking 3 days of rage as a response. In his announcement today, Trump acknowledged his declaration would be met with disagreement and dissent.
Today we call for calm, for moderation, and for the voices of tolerance to prevail over the purveyors of hate.
In Istanbul, hundreds of protesters condemning Trump's decision outside the U.S. consulate. And Pope Francis speaking hours before Trump's announcement, saying he can't hide his, quote, deep concern. The Pope calling for respect of the status quo, saying new tension in the Middle East would just further inflame world conflicts. In the UK, a week after Theresa May said the U.S. president was wrong to share anti-Muslim videos on Twitter, the British Prime Minister explaining she intends to speak to Trump about the status of Jerusalem.
Our position has not changed, that the status of Jerusalem should be determined as in a negotiated settlement between the Israelis and the Palestinians, and Jerusalem should ultimately form a shared capital between the Israeli and Palestinian states.
As for Canada's response, a spokesperson for Foreign Affairs Minister Chrystia Freeland says Canada is a steadfast ally and friend of Israel and a friend of the Palestinian people. Canada's long-standing position is that the status of Jerusalem can be resolved only as a part of a general settlement of the Palestinian-Israeli dispute. So what's next? Well, it could take years to move the U.S. embassy from Tel Aviv to Jerusalem. But in the near future, Donald Trump says his Vice President Mike Pence will be visiting the Middle East within just a matter of days.